What's up, guys? This is Nick from Arch City Poker, and in today's video, I'm going to be continuing the How to Beat Live Low Stakes Poker series with today's topic covering being card dead and missing flops. I'll clean up the title, but for the sake of the video, we're just going to start off with those two topics. So, essentially, when you miss flops, your opponents are often going to miss as often as you are, and specifically in live low stakes games, they're going to miss even more often because they're usually playing too wide of a range pre-flop. So, when you miss, you generally have such a range advantage that you are supposed to be betting more often. So you should be c-betting more frequently and barreling more frequently because you'll be able to get your opponents off of their range more often than you should. Now, this specifically goes for heads up and three-way pots, I would say. And those types of pots, when you're missing a lot, keep in mind board texture and what boards you should hit a little bit harder than your opponents. The more disconnected boards, you can pretty much just bet most of the time anyway, but the only boards to really watch out for are the middling, really connected boards like 7-6-5, 8-7-6, that type of stuff. Those will hit limp calling ranges quite often. They'll hit flatting ranges pretty well. So I would say, though, generally you're going to be in position more often than not, or at least you should be, and you should be entering the pot with a stronger and more narrow range. Therefore, you should have a range advantage on most board textures that will allow you to c-bet and barrel more frequently. That will allow you to therefore make more money than your opponents when you're both missing the flop at generally about the same rate. Like I said, they will miss a little more often due to their too wide ranges pre-flop, but that's how you will be able to basically, I guess, not really adjust isn't the right word, but how you deal with missing flops most of the time. As far as being card dead, and actually let me go back to the missing flops. Now, if you're multi-way 4, 5, 6-handed, it's really simple. You're pretty much going to be giving up most of the time if you don't flop any kind of real equity. You can't bluff 4 and 5 people off of their hands. There's no need to try to be some kind of loose aggressive hero. Keep it simple. You entered the pot with a strong range. You probably got called by a lot of weak ranges. When you do hit, you're often going to get 1 or 2 people to really give you max value depending on how the board runs out. But when you do hit, you will make up for all the times, more than make up for all the times that you do miss. So just keep that in mind when you are multi-way. Don't worry about having to feel like you're folding a lot of flops when you are multi-way because generally you're not going to be able to continue on most of them. Now, getting back to the last part of this video, which is going to be dealing with being card dead, cold cards essentially. In live low stakes games generally, and I should say specifically as far as these games go in the player pool, most players pre-flop, they don't drive to the casino to fold pre-flop generally. People come to the casino, recreational players, to see flops. And so they want to gamble pre-flop. They want to try to see a flop. They want to try to bingo, big hands. They want to try to crack your range, basically. So therefore, even when you are card dead, let's say you go a good hour and then all of a sudden you raise, you still might get 4 and 5 callers generally in these games. And not all the time, but I think you'll get more action than you think you will just because for the very reason, like I said, players want to gamble pre-flop and they want to see flops. They do not drive to the casino to fold pre-flop. So I do think generally that you shouldn't worry about balance too much. You should just be patient. Keep waiting for your stronger combos, especially in position, and punish your opponents when you are in position. So I will say that if you end up at a table where you do have some more competent opponents and they are aware of things like table image, if your image is perceived to be a little bit tighter because you are card dead, then there will be some spots where you can generate a little more fold equity. You can 3-bet a little more often in position. You can squeeze, I think, a little more profitably from the blinds, especially against late position opens and flats. And then I think you can probably open up your range on the cutoff and button and include a little bit wider of a range essentially because I do think it'll generate a little more fold equity. So keep that in mind, but in general, I would say most of the time you don't really have to worry about trying to force action or generate fold equity. These players are going to give you action usually no matter what. So stay patient. When you're card dead, when you're missing flops, just keep in mind board texture and range advantage. And you should be doing most of the betting, especially when you're in position, because you're just going to be able to get your opponents off their hands. They're going to miss flops pretty much, like I said, a little more often than you will because of how the player pool plays in these games. But if you guys are missing at almost the same rate, you're going to make more money off of them because you're going to be essentially punishing their weak and wide ranges. So if you guys have any questions or comments on this topic, or either topic within the video, I should say, go ahead and let me know. Until next time, this is Nick from Arch City Poker. Take care.